Si le gustaría escuchar un episodio en español, por favor escuche el siguiente episodio.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Fuentes, and I'm part of the team here at La Incubadora Podcast. In case you don't already know us, La Incubadora Podcast is part of the Economic Growth Business Incubator, a local nonprofit business incubator here in Central Texas that works with existing and aspiring business owners to provide training, coaching, and support for anyone who might face a barrier to growing a successful business. La Incubadora Podcast is born out of the need to be in video and audio many of the questions asked by our community and connect you all with the resources to succeed in business on your own time and wherever you are, as long as you have access to a mobile device. At EGBI, one of our core missions is to educate our small business owners on the key aspects of running a successful and sustainable business. For many, one of the most daunting challenges is managing debt. So we've had this conversation with several of our clients, and debt can be something very scary. But not all debt is bad. And especially when it's approached responsibly, it can be a very powerful tool for growth. And so we're excited today to speak with Gregory Dickinson from Truist Bank, who has generously donated their time to share their resources. And they'll also share their perspective on how to take on debt responsibly and explore different ways to fund your business. And so first, let me read to you a little bit about Greg and his past. So Gregory Dickinson is a Texas native with an 18-year career in banking and holds a degree in financial leadership and market focus from the BB&T Leadership Institute. He currently serves as a VP branch leader and business specialist at Truist Bank, where he educates and empowers his clients in personal finance. Greg has held several roles within the bank, focusing on financial literacy and support for schools and businesses and nonprofits across Austin and nearby areas. He also sits on the advisory boards for colleges and universities with a mission to aspire and uplift his community. And so with that introduction, and without further ado, I do have the welcome of welcoming Greg to the conversation. So Greg, thank you once again for donating your time and for sharing a little bit about your knowledge and your perspective.
Well, thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. And I wanted to thank you and EGBI, for providing this platform for Truist Bank to get some exposure, but also to be able to help out the people in our community. And that's what a big part of what we do. So guys, my name is Greg Dickinson. Just like David said, I'm a VP branch specialist along with business specialist. And so I love helping out my community, and I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I think one of the things that really motivates me to continue to do what I do is being able to touch the people out in the market, right? Give them resources and understanding of people like myself and others that can really help you and your business grow. And so I really appreciate being on here, and I really look forward to connecting with as many of you and answer any questions that you guys may have. I will be leaving some information about myself, that ways that you can contact me. So yeah, thank you again, David. I really appreciate it.
Oops, sorry for cutting you off there a little bit early, but yes, if you see Greg, you'll always see his energy when he walks into the room. He's very positive, and that's something that's very essential, I feel, to the experience when you're navigating something as scary as a loan. And so, Greg, thank you for the introduction and for telling us a little bit more about yourself. And so today we are focusing in on the topic, which is, when should I take out a loan for your business? How do I handle this step? Can you start off by telling us what are some good reasons for a small business owner to consider taking out a commercial loan?
Yeah, so David, with this, there's so many good reasons, right? I'll talk about the top three, but before I begin and we discuss these three, the decision to take on debt really depends on the company's goals, their financial situation, and growth strategy, right? And so some common reasons on why to borrow is first, it helps with the business and their business credit profile, right? Just like your personal credit, building your business credit profile is just as important. So as you build it helps creditors understand what you're borrowing and what it looks like in the past, and this can help build your company for the future. The second one is for most institutions, borrowing money can really help build a strong relationship between your business and the bank. And this helps banks understand where your business is standing. And so having a really good connection with a banker such as myself or a lender in general really is going to go to that aspect of, hey, I'm building a relationship and my bank knows what I'm doing and who I am, right? The third one is it's expansion and growth of the business, right? This is to help cash flow management, such as covering over short-term expenses like payroll, inventory and rent, working capital, such as your day-to-day operations during slow times, and could even offer some tax benefits, right? But be careful. Managing debt, business can enhance their growth potential and take advantages of opportunities that may otherwise be out of reach. I know this is a lot to unpack here, but I do want to talk about the flip side of borrowing money as well. Business owners should avoid borrowing money, and what are some red flags around this, right? And so I always like to really present this topic just because you need to understand going into it yourself, what am I getting into and what are some of those red flags and warning signs. So let me talk about that really quick. So some red flags and warning signs that could indicate that taking on debt could harm the business. In some situations when borrowing, it may be a bad idea. When a business struggles to maintain consistent cash flow and covering over operational expenses, borrowing to fix this could worsen the problem, right? Um, Not in all situations, but in most situations that I've seen, that could be a struggling point and a pain point of when to see, hey, maybe I shouldn't borrow any money. High levels of existing debt, right? So if you go into your business already having debt, or the having debt just in general can be a point of starting disaster. This can mean even holding personal levels of personal debt, on your personal credit before starting your company. Borrowing money for non-essential expenses. Basically, if you borrow money to start up your business, but you start using it for personal expenses, this could also be, a red flag for you, and maybe not be a good time for you to borrow any money. Um, this is something that a lending specialist can really help you understand. And everything that I just said, I would take it as plan of action, right? So putting a plan of action before understanding what do I need to actually borrow money for is really going to be helpful for you in understanding what that next step is going to look like when you do borrow money.
Good. I think that was some good information, and you're right. It is a lot to unpack, but also part of me having Greg from Truist here is to understand that it's you're not on your own. You don't have to know all this, right? A part of going and having a banker by your side is because you have someone who deals with this on the day to day and really understands the in and out and will advise you. And so thank you for that information. I think you brought up some great points. And yeah, it might seem maybe overwhelming, but you there are resources in the community that EGBI is one of them, Truist Bank is one of them. And so we're gonna talk about that a little bit more. So Greg, I do have another question for you. For new business owners that might not perhaps have a credit history, what type of loans are available? Could you kind of walk us through the most common options?
Yes, there's so many, right? But I will list them out first and then just kind of speak on a few of those just to kind of give an understanding. So the list, it would be small business administration lending, SBA lending, right? Term loans, business line of credit, equipment financing, business credit cards, personal loans. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Merchant cash advances, crowdfunding loans, grants, government programs, microloans, peer-to-peer lending. Again, as you can tell, there's so many different lending platforms, right? And to really get an understanding of where you fit is where you sit down with a banker so they can understand the structure of your business. That's really the most important. So let me discuss a couple of the ones that I just talked about, David. So SBA is a big one, right? This can be good. However, it can be a very lengthy process for a new business owner. And so understanding going
Mm.
into an SBA type of loan is really important. Again, sitting down with your specialist and getting an understanding, hey, what does that time frame look like, right? That's going to be important. Why? Because if you're ready to start your business, you're ready to go, and you've got time frames, this might not be a direction for you to go in. Business lines of credit, this allows the company to access funds and draw from the line as needed, and it's revolving. And it can be used to manage cash flow or short term needs, right? Think of business credit line as a credit card, but it's a much higher line of credit, right? That you're going to be able to obtain in most cases. And the interest rate is going to definitely be lower than your typical credit cards. However, business credit cards are actually one of my favorite, especially for new businesses, because it can be obtained a lot easier. And for most cards, it comes with a 0% feature to help businesses not have to worry about paying any interest for up to a year. And in some cases, it could be up to 15 months. This can be really, really helpful for those startup businesses that maybe just need a little bit more to get over that hump in order to get their business going in the right direction, right? And
Hmm.
so is business credit card the main point? It's not, but it is a great tool to utilize, and it is an easier tool to obtain pretty quickly. Personal loans. Now, this one's a little bit more tricky. Um, you typically don't want to leverage personal loans, and you have to be really careful on how you leverage personal loans. This one, I'm not going to unpack on this podcast because it is very lengthy,
Hmm.
but this is one that I would definitely say sit down with your banker and let them know, hey, if a business loan doesn't work for me, would a personal loan be advantageous? And I will say, in some cases, it is. It depends on the dollar amount, right, that you're looking to borrow. You don't want to have a lot of personal debt for your business, right? It doesn't really make sense. But is it something that you can utilize? It can, and it has in the past for those that are really invested in what they're doing, and they want to take that direction of, hey, I really want to get this business going, and I'm willing to go that extra mile to do that. And so those are some of the things that could be really helpful. And again, if y'all have any additional questions, definitely reach out.
No, and thank you for sharing all the different types of loans available. I think it is important whenever you're talking about businesses that perhaps are at different stages, whether they're starting or growing, right? And with different needs depending on their industry or their size. So thank you for kind of walking us through. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. It is it's a case by case basis. Now, another question that I have here for you, Greg, is: are there any specific lenders or programs that are particularly accessible for a new business?
Yeah. So thank you for that, David. Yes, and you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. It's really great to be able to connect with the individual. So to answer your question on specific lenders and programs, um, there's so many lenders out there, right? Like we mentioned earlier, SBA is a really big one. For instance,
Hmm.
I work closely with People Fund in some regards, depending on their situation. But to really understand what programs that are going to be suited for your business, again, the conversation really needs to be able to occur with your lender, and so they can put you on that right direction. There's I know I kind of sound like a broken record here, David, and I can't stress this enough, but having a really good banker that understands you and your business and your goals, that's what's really going to help I'll speak on behalf of myself. Whenever I get to learn a new business owner, I ask a ton of questions. I really want to get ingrained. In some cases, I even go out to the place of business if they have like a brick and mortar or wherever they operate. I typically like to visit that because I want to be able to put myself in their shoes and get a really true good understanding of what's going on with the business so that I can point you in that right direction, right? And so um, specific lenders are really going to depend, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here down the road, but definitely sit down with your banker, let them know your situation so that they can point you in the right direction of that.
Yeah, which I think is why it's really important, right? Even if you don't need the loan right away to start a relationship, because when you do need it, you already have that established relationship, right? You already have kind of resources, people, and institutions that are familiar with the stage of your business and your business needs, and you can receive help, maybe not right away, but much faster than if you actually seek it out when you need it. And so, one question that we get a lot from our community is whenever we're applying for loan, what are lenders typically looking for, Greg?
This one's awesome, David. I like this one. So everybody, get your pens and paper. Y'all
That's
will
right.
want to take note on this one. Um, so what lenders really look for, and this is pretty much across the board, most lenders are going to go and follow what is called the 5 C's of credit. Okay, these 5 C's of credit are your decisioning process, so to speak, right? This is what we're looking for as a lender. This is what we're looking for to provide to our underwriters. And so these 5 C's of credit, I'll list them out and I'll talk a little bit about each one. So the first one is character. Okay, character. This is when a lender looks at the reputation of credit history. Okay, so you want to be able to make sure to polish up anything that you might have, even on your personal credit, because let's face it, when you apply for a loan, you're going to be a guarantor for your loan, and so they are going to pull your personal credit as well to see what does your character look like, right? What does that reputation look like? And so that's really important. um, to speak a little bit more about that, I really pride myself in having a really vast knowledge and understanding around credit in general. I didn't come from a very good background. I'll be honest on here and be a little vulnerable. My credit score was in the low 400s at one point in my life, and so I enjoy helping people understand what that looks like and how to fix some of those problems, and make sure that your character looks good whenever you are applying for this loan, applying for loans. The second one is capacity. This is when a lender has the ability. Sorry, this is when you as the lender have the ability to repay your loan. Right. So capacity is a very big one. They want to see, hey, if you're going to be able to borrow this amount of money, are you able to repay it back? And if you are, how does that look? Right? So that's the second thing that we look at as lenders and underwriters for a loan. The third one is capital. This is what gives lenders an understanding how much money is needed and if you are going to be able to borrow and willing to invest your own money. Basically, I like to call this, David, having skin in the game. Okay.
Hmm.
So for our listeners out there, having skin in the game is one of the most important things. If you're investing in yourself and you've applied money to your business at this point, when you come and sit down with your lender, make sure you let them know that. Tell them, hey, I've already invested $5,000, $10,000 into my business. I'm invested, right? This is something that lenders definitely want to hear because then at that point they know you've got skin in the game, right? You've got your own investing in the game. The other thing is, I will tell you, is a lot of individuals that start up businesses or still operating businesses, they will do so for a couple of years and they will keep their 9 to 5 job just so that they can continue to fund their business, right? And so it's not ideal, but this is really good to bring up in a conversation with your lender or lending specialist because when they know that you've got this much into it, they know, okay, this person's got the capital and investment willing to move forward. The fourth one is collateral. Now, this is when
Mhm.
the borrower has assets that they can leverage to be able to borrow the value of that said asset. So I'll give you a really quick example of this. This is when, let's say you've got a vehicle, the vehicle's paid off. It might be quite a few years old, but it still holds value, right? We all know car values go up and down, but it still holds value, and you can leverage a vehicle as collateral, right? Well, the same thing works for business. If you own and operate a business that's a pool company and you've got trucks, those trucks can be leveraged as collateral. If you have equipment for your business, that equipment can be leveraged as collateral. There are a lot of things that can be leveraged as collateral, but you also got to be careful because not everything can be leveraged as collateral. And this again will be a conversation that you have with your business specialist,
Mhm.
and letting them know, hey, I've got this. Can I use this as collateral? Right. The fifth and final one is conditions. Conditions is when the lender um, considers factors such as the economy and the current industry that you're in, and seeing what could possibly impact the ability to repay on the loans. And so, David, really quick on conditions. This is a big one and it's loaded, but everybody knows when COVID happened, right? That was an unexpected situation. Nobody could have planned for this. Businesses couldn't have planned for it. Banks couldn't have planned for this. But this is considered a condition, right? And because of that condition, we've got to look at lending a little bit differently, right? And this goes for all lenders this has happened to. um, so even getting to know, hey, what condition am I currently in? How am I going to be able to impact my community? What am I doing with my business that could be detrimental down the road? Where, hey, maybe if this happened, it would affect my business considerably, right? And so that last one is a very difficult one, and this is one where me as a lender will talk to the client and then get an understanding, and then I have to paint that picture to the underwriter so that they understand that, hey, this business is doing really great and their conditions are really great, right, for the foreseeable future. And so yeah, those are the five areas that we really look at when we are um, looking to any application, right, David? Any
Mhm.
application that we're doing, these are the five areas that we're really focused on.
Yeah, thank you. And just to summarize, those five areas were the five C's of credit, which is character, capacity, capital, collateral, conditions. And again, I think it's very important that you also shared your experience, Greg, because kind of credit can be a journey, right? Some factors we can change, some factors maybe we're just waiting for the right moment. And so it's important for us to keep that in mind. However, I think that's pretty standard across the lending, right? Whether you're dealing with a bank, a different financial institution, or community development financial institution, right? That's something that's pretty standard. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Greg, what are besides your traditional bank loan, what are some other ways that small businesses can continue funding their growth?
Yeah, David. So we spoke a little bit about this earlier,
Hmm.
right? Some different ways that you can borrow, or different type of products, right? But there are non-traditional lending platforms as well. I'll couple of them are like peer-to-peer lending, lending club, or prosper, right? Some of these some people might know and some they may not. Again, peer-to-peer lending club or prosper. There's also a thing called crowdfunding loans. This could be a platform to find online, like using Kickstarter. Some people may be familiar with Kickstarter. And there's also private investors, but I will say be very cautious with the private investors. A private investor is somebody that is looking to invest in your business, right? And they want some return out of that business. And Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to scare people away. Like, private investors can be very lucrative, but I would definitely tell you to have an attorney, have a business attorney review over any contract before allowing an investor to invest in your company. I've seen some horror stories over the years, and people that were taken advantage of, and the business was amazing business, but because the way it was structured with that private investor, in some cases, people did lose their business. So again, this is not to scare you away from, being able to borrow against private investors. Just be cautious and be aware. And then also, again, use your resources.
Yep.
I'll tell the audience one thing, David, is don't hesitate to call me. You don't have to bank with me. You don't have to have any kind of relationship with the bank, with Truist Bank. I love helping people in general, and so if somebody wants to reach out to me and have a discussion, like, hey, Greg, I've tried every platform, it's not working for me. What are some non-traditional type of lending platforms that I can do? I'll be happy to connect with you, walk through that with you, and kind of give you an understanding of, hey, how will this work for you, and give you some good and bad, right, of doing what could be done on a non-traditional lending platform.
Sure. And is that the advice you would give to a small business owner, right? Is it seeking out your community resources?
Definitely seeking out your community resources. Again, whether you're using EGBI, right? There's so many great resources within EGBI. There's resources that they can connect you with, and they have a lot of great. David could speak to this all day long. I know he can, but the EGBI is so well connected in the community that you could pick up the phone call and just say, "Hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Where can I get help?" Right? So always seek help, and please never ever feel that this is a dumb question, right? I think a lot of people will stop themselves from achieving what they want because maybe they feel embarrassed, or they're not sure if they're asking it the right way. What I would say to that is go all in. Go all in, ask the question. I guarantee you, David and I have heard a lot of different stories over the years.
Yep. Yeah, and that's my bit of advice too, is seek out your resources, start building relationships. So we always say, like, have a relationship with a banker, have a relationship with a lawyer and an accountant, right? Because you really never know when you might need it, and sometimes it's in an emergency, and so it's useful to already have those established relationships. Now, Greg, you've shared a lot of useful information. I'm very thankful that you have. I'm sure some of folks would like to reach out to you for more, kind of to get more information and some more clarity. So how can we get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. So by email, by phone number, my email address is Gregory.Dickinson at truist.com. Again, it's Gregory, Gregory, and then dot or period, Dickinson, Dickinson, at Truist, Truist.com. So Gregory.Dickinson at Truist.com. Phone number is 512-861-4005. Once again, that's numbers 512-861-4005. This is my direct line to my office, and I do have voicemail, which is really, really nice. I know a lot of bankers in the community, and they typically don't have a direct line. So this is awesome for me. I love being able to get in connected with my clients. And so if I don't answer, that just means probably I'm out of the office and I'm doing things like this out in my community. Definitely leave me a voicemail. Definitely leave me a voicemail. I check that voicemail every single day, and I will get back with you within 24 to 48 hours. So thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you having me on this podcast, and I'm really glad that I can help out in any way I can to our community.
No, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you, Maria. Yeah, Maria is expressing her gratitude for all the great information you shared, Greg. Well, friends, that's all for today. As always, it's been a pleasure chatting with you and getting some more information. And I hope you learn a little bit more about us today. It's our pleasure to serve our small business community, and so thank you for listening in and being a part of us. We love what we do because of y'all. And I'm sure, Greg, you can say the same thing. And as always, please remember that La Incubadora podcast is part of the Economic Growth Business Incubator. We're a business incubator here in Central Texas that's offering training, coaching, and to support to small business owners with barriers to achieving success. So if you want to learn a little bit more about us and our services, please visit egbi.org and see you very soon. Thanks again, Greg. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
And hope we can continue connecting.
Definitely, David. I will definitely be in touch, sir. And thank you all for listening in today, and look forward to talking to y'all soon. Have a great day.